Today I want to talk to you about white privilege. White privilege tends to be a hot button topic, especially among the white students, because our first inclination is to think, I didn't grow up with privilege. And while you may have had difficulties in your life based on sex category, gender presentation, class category, if you're white in American society, you do have privilege. There is a wonderful article, White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack by Peggy McIntosh. And I would say if you haven't had a chance to go check that out, I believe it's free on the internet. Go look it up and see. It's like a list of 40 some odd things that if you're white, you don't ever think about because you have the privilege in society to have privilege for the color of your skin. I saw this other article recently. It was saying that white privilege used to be called Protestant work ethic, and then in the article it goes on to say that basically hard work gets rewarded. I think you misunderstand white privilege. White privilege has nothing to do with the hard work that gets rewarded. The Protestant work ethic had more to do with how capitalism took hold in the West. So the Protestant work ethic and the spirit of capitalism is something entirely different. Whereas white privilege has to do with how you're treated in society. Now, there's lots of different studies that show that yes, we live in a white supremacist society, and specifically white people benefit from privileges that people of color do not. Now, I want to remind you, when I say people of color or person of color, I'm not talking about any one particular racial category. Person of color or people of color, anybody who has not been included into whiteness. Whiteness is a category that changes over time. Thus, race is a social construct. Now, even though race is a social construct, it doesn't mean that people aren't adversely affected by this social construct. And in fact, I mean, even though it's a social construct because in society we deem skin color to be an important characteristic to judge a person by. So some of the studies that have shown that people have white privilege, and from my own experiences, I was identified as Italian, but I am treated in society as white, yeah? So I had to come to terms with the privileges that I have benefited from, even though I was like, I'm not white, I'm Italian, but no, I have a ton of privilege. How do I know? Because in my earlier years, when I was breaking the law, I didn't get caught because I wasn't suspected of doing something bad because I'm white. Occasionally, I would be harassed by the police because I didn't fit traditional gender norm expressions. I had a shaved head and I looked like a guy, and sometimes the cops would pull me over and give me the runaround. But I never got in trouble. I never had to worry about being shot by a cop. I never had to worry about going to jail. I never had to worry because I benefited from white privilege. Other ways that I benefit from white privilege, I remember a long time ago having heard somebody say, you know, how come black people get magazines like Essence and Jet? If white people had magazines called like Cracker or Whitey, everybody would be pissed off. Right. You don't need magazines called Cracker or Whitey because if you look across the magazine aisle, it's all white people. You're already represented. That's white privilege. If you're already represented and you don't need a specialty magazine just to have representation, then you are benefiting from privilege. Does this make sense? Do you understand? One last thing. When people talk about white privilege, it's not to make you feel guilty. You need to become aware of the privileges that you have because there are going to be privileges that you have and privileges that you don't have. So for me, as a homosexual woman, I have white privilege, but I don't have sexuality privilege or sex category privilege. You could argue that I also don't have gender privilege because if I perform stereotypical masculine characteristics in my everyday performance of self, they'll be reinterpreted as something bitchy or bossy if a woman does it. So I don't have sex category privilege or gender privilege. Side note, and I should probably do another video about this, but if you don't believe that women and men are treated differently in society based on simply the sex category that is believed they belong to, you should definitely go read the articles 25 Male Privileges Experienced by a Trans Man. I'll make a different video about that. Anyway, what else did I want to say? I think that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Bye.